This is BTV Business Television.
Hi, I'm Taylor Tone.
And I'm Jessica Katrachak. Welcome to BTV Business Television.
This week on BTV, we highlight 5 investment opportunities to keep on your radar,
including one that comes with a proven formula for success.
We've always been brownfield specialists. We're focused on assets that can become tier 1 assets, that is 500,000 ounces a year or better.
We look at one of the best growth stories in oil and gas.
In the second quarter, we were sitting at about 3,200 BOE a day with very little debt. That's close to 50% growth in 6 months.
We visit a company poised to take advantage of a looming worldwide tin deficit.
We're very fortunate from a logistics standpoint. We outlined 670 million tons of commercial material.
We examine new opportunities spurred by a growing demand for uranium.
You can't get to net zero, you can't produce green energy, you can't replace fossil fuels without nuclear energy.
And we'll see how smart investments in the oil patch are paying off for shareholders.
We're now returning 50% of our free cash flow generated through the combination of our share repurchase plan as well as our base dividend.
All this and more ahead on BTV Business Television.
Osisko Development is a premier North American gold mining company with high ambitions, led by a management team with an impressive track record of reviving past-producing mines, spanning back to 2004. First, when Osisko Mining Corp purchased the Quebec-based Canadian Malartic project out of bankruptcy. The rest, as they say, is history.
It was quite a discovery when we started. We were the first ones to go for large, low-grade bulk tonnage open pit, really in Quebec and Ontario. And we sold that asset in 2014 for about $4.1 billion in total considerations. So not bad for an $88,000 acquisition.
Despite the impressive payout, the company endured a difficult time before the sale of Canadian Malartic was completed.
In 2014, I received a phone call from the CEO of Gold Corp on Monday the 13th at 6:13 a.m. I hardly remember it, who informed me that we were going to receive a bid directly to the shareholders, aka a hostile takeover, for what was Canada's largest gold mine at the time.
Canadian Malartic has gone on to become one of Canada's top gold mines and is considered among the top 10 globally. But that didn't discourage the Osisko management team. The transaction resulted in the formation of Osisko Gold Royalties, now a productive fixture in the Osisko group of companies.
We've managed to build Osisko Gold Royalties into the 4th largest royalty company in the world in the precious metal space. We were pretty much a single asset producing mining company, but we were able to transition into the financial platform that we are today.
In 2016, the predecessor of Osisko Development purchased its current flagship property, the Caribou Gold Project, located in central British Columbia.
We re-drilled that project with 750,000 meters of new drilling. We announced a feasibility study for the first 2 million ounces of reserves, and we're in the final legs of the EA approval process in British Columbia as we speak. And we're hoping to be in a mine build next year. And we think that this is going to be one of the great Western mining camps.
The Caribou Project is an excellent illustration of Osisko Development's commitment to responsible, sustainable, and innovative mining practices.
We are benefiting from BC hydroelectricity, and because we've switched most of the mining equipment and processing to electric only, we've received several grants for electrification. Using a new technology we've involved is called the roadheader, which is an electric mechanical mining method used mostly in tunneling, but we're going to do most of our development with that, which reduces the amount of explosives that we need to use, and it's an electric-only machine.
In 2022, Osisko Development acquired the Tintic project in Utah, consisting of 23 past-producing mines, including the Trixie high-grade gold discovery. It's a promising venture in a highly desirable jurisdiction.
Our good friends at Ivanhoe Electric are on the border to the south of us, and Freeport is also there. We have 17,000 acres of patented land claims there. We also have a high-grade gold discovery that we've driven a ramp down to. So we're very excited to see what this one brings us.
Both the Caribou and Tintic projects adhere to a tried and true Osisko philosophy.
With the Osisko Group, we have always been brownfield specialists. We're focused on assets that can become tier 1 assets, that is 500,000 ounces a year or better. We have a high focus on our technical knowledge, and I think that we're well known in the industry to have some of the best technical prowess that exists. And value driving for our shareholders is by focusing on what we think can be world-class projects.
Looking ahead, Osisko Development will continue to rely on its people, technology, and innovation to drive value for its partners and shareholders.
Stay tuned for more investment opportunities you don't want to miss.
We probably are one of the best growth stories out there in oil and gas.
We'll be right back. You're watching BTV.
Welcome back. The TSX Venture 50 is an annual list of the top performing companies listed on the TSX Venture Exchange. Together, they boast an average share price return of 73% over the last calendar year. And smart investors are taking notice.
Our exchange offers investors the opportunity to invest in the best and brightest small cap companies across a number of different industry sectors and from regions all across the globe. Even in difficult market conditions such as we're experiencing today, these companies continue to grow and deliver on their milestones and innovate, and it's really impressive.
ROK Resources is a junior oil and gas exploration company on this year's Venture 50 annual list, with an affinity for acquiring under-the-radar assets. A few years back, the company anticipated looming supply shortages that would in turn drive up the price of oil. So they went into action and have never looked back.
We probably are one of the best growth stories out there in oil and gas. Our primary business plan has been to assemble a big block of assets that when oil prices are strong, we can hit the drill bit and grow the company and the asset. I think there's a lot of people have very good reserve bases with a lot of value, and you can ride the oil price up with that. But we add that extra dimension of actual organic growth. So that's very exciting.
ROK's technical focus and deep knowledge of the oil fields in Saskatchewan and Alberta gives it a real competitive advantage that has enabled it to identify assets with significant growth potential.
The first one we picked up was a small 100 barrel a day asset. We've since built that to over 400 barrels a day, so been able to quadruple that with just a couple wells. The other asset, namely that we bought from Federated Co-op, we've basically taken the core in southeast Saskatchewan and northwest Alberta, and we've retained that. We've sold some of the non-core positions in excess of what we paid for the entire asset. And then our latest acquisition is a lot of drillable locations, both in the Midale and the Frobisher in Saskatchewan.
One key way that ROK can continue to add value to these assets is through drilling.
We've drilled 5 wells thus far. We started in July. 3 of those are on production as of today. We have another 5 wells planned in Q4. We're keenly focused on drilling results right now and just organic growth within our asset base.
Based on the numbers to date, their ambitious targets are well within reach.
In the second quarter, we were sitting at about 3,200 BOE a day with very little debt. We expect to end the year at 4,500 BOE a day with only 17 million of debt. That's close to 50% growth in 6 months.
Now, ROK is getting ready to up the ante with an unexpected discovery of a vast lithium field right in their own backyard.
Operationally, it's exactly in our wheelhouse, in the jurisdiction that we have the highest expertise in.
So far, so good. We've drilled I think the best 2 wells ever tested in Canada, and we're kind of off to the races with it. And really, it's just a matter of moving it forward with whoever that technological partner will be.
When ROK does move ahead, their lithium assets could prove to be a game changer.
I think that lithium asset actually has the potential to exceed our oil and gas assets in terms of value and ultimate cash flow and returns. But it's an asset that's going to require 3 to 5 years to fully develop, and our belief is that it's best suited to move that into its own asset, its own entity that can raise that capital and focus on the lithium asset.
In addition to uncovering its lithium potential, ROK will rely on its highly experienced technical team, which has a solid track record of execution and value creation, and is fully devoted to growing shareholder value.
Coming up on BTV, more companies in the stock market to keep your eye on.
The domestic supply of uranium is key to the nuclear industry's health in the United States, as we've grown incredibly reliant upon foreign imports.
We'll be right back. You're watching BTV.
Tin, an essential commodity used in our homes, cars, and even our phones. Eloro Resources' flagship Osisko project, a silver tin discovery, has the potential to be one of the largest bulk tonnage operations in the world. It's located in an emerging jurisdiction with unlimited promise, Bolivia.
I saw a company based out of Vancouver called New Pacific Metals. They did a brilliant job in coming into Bolivia as an explorer. Their share cap got up to $1 billion. Now, what are they doing? How did they get into Bolivia? I thought Bolivia was sort of a tough place to work. There was no sort of rush into Bolivia from our standpoint. Having seen what New Pacific did and their sponsorship from groups such as BMO, Royal Bank, different firms, we became very interested, and that's when Dr. Bill Pearson arranged a meeting with Dr. Osvaldo Arce from Bolivia, and the rest is history.
Dr. Arce, formerly the head of the Geological Society of Bolivia, was hired to lead Eloro's exploration team. Not long after, he brought the opportunity of Osisko to Tom Larson's attention. Now, after nearly 3 years of development work, Eloro has finally published its eagerly awaited mineral resource estimate.
We outlined 670 million tons of commercial material. That was lower grade, the market sort of initially expected. However, when you zero in on the upper parts of that open pit, and that's what we deem as really the starter pit, the grades produced a really good profit margin in our conceptual model.
The tin found at Osisko presents Eloro with a unique opportunity.
Tin is a very important metal in the world right now in the power industry, and Bolivia is one of the important producers of tin. We have a tin domain where we have a more concentrated tin, so it's very important because in the future this will contribute to the economy of the project.
Another feature of Osisko that could be attractive to a potential buyer is the project's proximity to key infrastructure.
We're very fortunate from a logistics standpoint with the project. We've got road access, we've got rail access, we've got water, hydro, all close by. And that's why our cost per meter, at least drilling, is so low.
With a mineral resource estimate now in hand, Eloro has a clear roadmap in place that will drive the project's next stage of development.
We've got close to $7-8 million cash, so we can infill the upper part, that starter pit, and that's what we plan on doing. A lot of the holes that we came out with were 100-meter spacings. You want to really tighten it up, 50-meter spacings to go to indicated, and you can, chances are you'll be able to improve your grade, which will give you more margin, profit margin. There's so many other targets that we have close by to this 670 million ton. So we really do want to go deeper towards that tin porphyry, which I think could be exciting from a blue sky standpoint down the road.
Eloro now has its sights set on establishing a preliminary economic assessment that can be used to attract a major world-class partner capable of moving their project into commercial production.
Almost 20% of all electricity in the U.S. is fueled by nuclear energy. and that number is expected to rise, along with the demand for uranium. It's a massive opportunity for enCore Energy as it looks to become America's next uranium producer.
The domestic supply of uranium is key to the nuclear industry's health in the United States, as we've grown incredibly reliant upon foreign imports. Roughly half of our 47 million pounds that we burn every year, it's all controlled through the shipping ports in Russia, and just emphasizes an already existing need to build a domestic supply base.
enCore currently owns 3 of the 11 licensed and constructed uranium in situ processing plants in the United States, with all 3 of their assets located in South Texas. An agreement state for nuclear energy and in situ recovery regulations that have significantly shorter permitting timelines and lower operating costs.
Being in a business-oriented regulatory environment has really helped us to accelerate our development and take advantage of the assets we have and the infrastructure that's there. Our intention is to be one of the nearest term producers in the uranium market as we see this new demand curve and price changes happening.
enCore Energy's 3 existing plants in South Texas have a combined capacity of 3.6 million pounds. We hope to work up towards that sometime in the 3 to 4 year time frame. But we'll be starting initial production and then ramping up at Rosita late this year. And then in the first quarter of 2024, we'll do the same with our much larger project, Alta Mesa.
The enCore team has a proven ability using the globally recognized in situ recovery to produce uranium, a process that its team members have both invented and perfected.
The in situ process is basically a way to recover uranium without the big open pits and having large mill tailings facilities, etc. So the footprint is small. It looks just like prairie with a bunch of white pipes sticking out of the ground that represent the wells. It's all done on the surface and all done using water instead of heavy equipment.
enCore expects to benefit from considerable tailwinds as it readies itself for 2023 and 2024 production of uranium at its Texas processing facilities. A domestic supply of uranium and strong fundamentals in the uranium industry are all critical for success.
You can't get to net zero, you can't produce green energy, you can't replace fossil fuels without nuclear energy. Wind is great, solar is great, but the truth is the sun doesn't shine every day, nor does the wind blow every day, and it certainly doesn't take care of baseload needs. There's a very key, fundamental, basic need for nuclear energy, and we're here to provide that.
enCore Energy currently focuses operations in Texas, but plans to expand to other states to help realize its goal of becoming America's energy company. Coming up on BTV, more investment opportunities.
In one transaction, we were able to double the cash flow.
We'll be right back. You're watching BTV.
Like the Venture 50, the TSX-30 can be a valuable resource for investors. It measures stock performance over a 3-year period.
Being part of the TSX-30 shows that you're delivering returns to your shareholders and creating value in the marketplace. The average company on the TSX-30 generated performance returns of 553% over the last 3 years. So that is very strong performance in some difficult market conditions.
Baytex Energy, a North American oil and gas producer, is thriving in an industry known for its volatility. Thanks to an effective risk management strategy, the company strives to consistently deliver stable quarterly and annual returns. It's a competitive advantage that enables Baytex to stand out from its peers.
We've got substantial asset and production exposure to Alberta, to Saskatchewan, and to Texas. And this regulatory diversification is important because it's very difficult to predict what will happen with regard to regulatory policies and political movements. But it's also the crude slate itself. So we produce heavy oil north of the border, light sweet oil sold into the Edmonton market, along with light sweet oil sold into the U.S. Gulf Coast market at a premium. So creating price point diversification, regulatory diversification, political exposure that is different from one province to another in the state of Texas gives us this broad-based, resilient and diversified platform that strengthens our company over time.
Scale is also an important focus for the company. It can provide access to lower cost capital and ultimately lead to better shareholder returns, goals that were at the heart of a recent game-changing acquisition.
We recently closed midsummer the acquisition of Ranger. This is a U.S. Gulf Coast operator. This expanded fairly significantly our presence on the U.S. Gulf Coast. Just as importantly, it gave us the full technical and operating capability with a team right in Houston and in the field to offer all the capabilities along the Gulf Coast that we enjoy here in Western Canada. In one transaction, we were able to double the cash flow. We increased the output of the company from about 90,000 BOE a day to 155,000 BOE a day. So as a consequence, we're now returning 50% of our free cash flow generated through the combination of our share repurchase plan as well as our base dividend, the other 50% allocated to debt reduction. That's just purely on the basis of what we can control.
Returns like these have earned Baytex a place on the TSX.V, a group of the 30 top performing companies on the Toronto Stock Exchange.
It's a great platform to give us the opportunity to showcase the durable growth in the business, as well as having the opportunity to talk to a broader audience about the attributes of the business that make Baytex unique.
After 2 consecutive years on the TSX.V, CEO Eric Greger is feeling pretty good about the road ahead.
Our massive cash flows on the U.S. Gulf Coast, light sweet premium pricing. We've got a very large heavy oil fairway, more than 700,000 net acres. We have exploration success, 3 discoveries in 3 years, including our spectacular Peavine flagship asset. And then the third leg of the stool is really our organic growth engine, which is our Duvernay. More than 20 years of inventory, growing from a low base, but a very strong economic asset that we've unlocked this year.
Baytex has a decade's worth of drilling inventory across its portfolio and will continue to rely on organic growth and future acquisitions in its quest to become a top-tier North American oil producer. It's always nice to follow the rise of companies resilient enough to take advantage of market opportunities.
Especially when they can provide an immediate payoff for investors by way of dividends.
Thanks for joining us today for BTV. I'm Jessica Kaczorczak.
And I'm Taylor Tone. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Business Television for the latest interviews on companies in the markets. And until next time, may your portfolio prosper.